Screen Slurps.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss everything that is good, that is bad, and that is savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
And today, we're going to be talking about being masters of disguise.
I'm going to be a master of disguise.
I'm going to be a master of disguise. Are we, though?
I hope not, because God.
I mean, if you know what we're talking about already, you know what we mean, but...
we said the title. So I hope they know what we're talking about.
You never know. I mean, we could be disguising our true interests right now.
So I was like, what is this? Inception? We're like multi levels down into it.
You never know. This week we're talking about the classic Dana Carvey film, Master of Disguise.
I don't know if classic is the way
It's
to
a
describe
classic.
it.
You know, there's Citizen Kane and there's Master of Disguise. Am I right?
Same level.
Am I right?
Same level.
Yeah. Okay, so Laura's right. I probably shouldn't call this a classic, but if you're talking about classic...
Dumpster fire.
Wait, what?
Dumpster fire.
Sure, a classic dumpster fire. Master of Disguise. Come on, people. You watch Adam Sandler's movies. You can watch Dana Carvey's movies too. They're in the same realm. I mean, we could probably put Adam Sandler's movies up a notch over Dana Carvey's films.
I would say so, yeah. But Happy Madison also produced this movie.
That's true.
You know, so it is connected though to Adam
There's a little bit of a
movies.
connection, and Adam Sandler's listed as a producer.
Yeah, I mean, they're SNL buddies together. Like, there's a lot of connections.
Yeah. I just imagine, you know, the two of them as like high school friends or something, walking down a hallway, sees them there. They're like, yeah, man, high five, you know. And Dana Carvey's like, yo, bro, I got this idea. You know, I wear all these different outfits. I do all these different voices. Like, it's going to be making bank. Yeah. And then he's like, you know what? I already did Billy Madison. I already did Happy Gilmore. This will probably work, right?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not just throw some money at it? It'll totally work.
Try it out.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. Well,
We'll get into the details.
They shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. We'll tell you all about how well people try to disguise this film for what it really is. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about our side slurps. That's right, our side slurps. If this is your first time listening, our side slurps are things we did other than watching the movie of the week. Things like watching other TV shows, maybe other movies. Maybe we even went skydiving. Maybe we went ice skating. Maybe I practiced using a rapier and learned how to fight in the medieval times. Laura?
Are you going to be a fencer? Like, what?
We were just talking about the dude from Zorro, so I mean, maybe I should...
Oh, Antonio Banderas.
I am Antonio Banderas.
You're going to become a... What even is... What do you call... What is Zorro? A vigilante?
Masquerade.
I mean, he's a man in a mask, yeah, but...
A
Anywho.
luchador. We tried. Anyways, Laura, what have you been up to?
We're losing it. This last week I've been reading A Court of Silver Flames, which is the fourth book in like the ACOTAR series. It's okay. I'm struggling to get through it. The main characters from the first three books aren't the main characters really anymore. They're like side, and the focus has turned to the sister. And I absolutely hated the sister in the other books. So the fact that this book is like focused on her, it's just... And like, you understand her as a character, and I get the way that she is, but it doesn't mean I like her. So this book's a struggle for me because I am not a big fan of her.
No, the title of the book was given a nice image in my head, though, like a court of silver flames.
Yeah.
Where's the red and the gold flame?
Well, all of the books are like a court of. So, you know, the first one is like a court of thorns and roses. There's like a court of wind and fury, or wind and ruin, wings and ruin. I know them by their acronyms, like ACOTAR, ACOWAR, you know.
That's a very interesting and complex
It's one of
situation?
my fairy books.
Okay. A Court of Fancy Feast.
Yes. So yeah, that's what I'm reading. I'm almost done with it. So hopefully maybe by tomorrow or something, I can have that done and move on to my next book, which is my book club book for the month. So that'll be a good read.
Ooh, and which book is that?
The School for Good Mothers. I think it's like a dystopian book about in a world where like mothers are really like, what's the word I want? Like the government watches over them, right, to determine if they're good mothers or not. And if they're not, they like lose their children. I think that's kind of what it's about, but I have not. We'll see when I start reading it.
I don't ever want to imagine that situation.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fun read. I think it might be a little depressing, but it'll be good. Yeah, other than that, I did start watching a new show this last week, really just like yesterday or 2 days ago. I started watching New Girl. So I've never really watched it. I think I maybe watched like a bit of the first season when it came out, however many years ago that was now. But I never continued with it. And just like I see it on TikTok all the time and you just see memes about it all the time. And I feel like I will really like it. Like I think I'll like the characters a lot. Maybe not so much Zooey Deschanel's character, but more so the guys in the show. So yeah, I'm started watching that. I kind of put it on in the background while I'm doing my hula hooping.
It's a good way to work out. Zooey Deschanel in the background.
Hoop, so I stand there and spin that around and have New Girl on. It's fun. It distracts you. Like it makes the hula hooping go by way faster. So that's always good.
That is good.
Yeah, that's it though, really. Nothing else crazy going on this last week for me. What about you, Adam? What do you got in your side slurps?
Well, I've been trying to work on some brand new music this year. One of my many 2022 resolutions that's in the back of my mind is starting to record some new music. I used to record all kinds of different cover songs and put them on Facebook when that was a hot commodity, is posting videos to Facebook of me covering music and things like that for kicks. But I'm trying to put out some new original music that I'm recording on Ableton Live. And it is progressing. I'm very excited to have that released and definitely stay tuned for that. I will be promoting that and I will be putting that online. And I am very excited to be doing that. And I'm also still reading the book that I said last week I'd have it done for this week. I am a liar. I'm sorry.
You'll get there. You've got other things going on in life.
I'll get it done. And I also do apologize. I was saying the author's last name wrong, but I believe it is Eric Nussum. Eric Nussum is the author for Make Noise, A Creator's Guide to Podcasting and Great Audio Storytelling. And it is a great book. As I continue to read this, very, very factual information that is very helpful, very informative, and very useful. Definitely recommend checking it out. Once again, the book, Make Noise, A Creator's Guide to Podcasting and Great Audio Storytelling.
The reason you didn't finish the book is because you got obsessed with that Catherine game.
Oh, that too. I've been playing the game Catherine on PlayStation 5. It's available on PS Now. And that's another thing, too. PS Now, Laura and I both just started checking that out because we were bored the other night. We didn't know what to play. And we realized PS Now, it's only $60 for a year. And we figure, hey, you know what? Might as well just,
Yeah, well, we got it because we really wanted to play that Moving Out. And it was like $30 for just that game. Whereas we could pay $60 and get a whole bunch of games. So, and then you find gems like Catherine.
Yeah. Moral of this is the video game Catherine is incredibly strange. It's a puzzle game, but also has some Japanese RPG elements to it. And it is very, very strange. Mm-hmm. And I'm almost done with it, though. I'm on the last level.
The puzzles are hard, too. Like
they're very hard.
It's good, though. Like, I feel like it's an interesting game to play. Definitely when you get sucked in. I mean, as you have been, which is why you haven't finished your book. Yeah. So you have an excuse. But the puzzles seem actually really hard. I'm
trying to beat the puzzles without cheating. And as I keep going, it's just so hard. So... yeah, the video game Catherine, I believe it was originally released for PlayStation 3, but they kind of brought it back for playability on the PS5 now.
That made me remember I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn, which I really like. I think I mentioned that last episode too, but that's kind of something I've been obsessed with lately. Reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed. It's fun.
Yeah, video games are addicting, and maybe you can dress up as...
Aloy?
Yeah, Aloy for Halloween, and... I don't want to be anybody from
that might be a little bit of like That's not appropriate. Well, she has wintry stuff. I was going to say, some of her stuff is a little scantily clad, and it's cold here in October.
It's fine. You can dress up as Aloy, and you can be, as we're about to talk about, a master of disguise.
Ooh.
That's right. This week's film, The Master of Disguise, directed by Perry Andolin Blake. Sorry, Perry. I don't know any of your other films.
He doesn't have any other ones.
Yeah, who?
No, I looked. This is the only thing he did.
And ever will be?
I think he directed some like pilot for a TV show that was never picked up. He is well known. So before he did this, he was really well known as like a production designer. So he did a lot of work with Happy Gilmore, like with, or that's what it's called, right? Adam Sandler's company.
Well, that would make sense for a movie like Master of Disguise then, production design.
The production design was like the only good part of this movie. So that makes sense then if that's what he built his career on. Yeah. But yeah, you don't know him because he has no other directing credits.
Yeah, there you go. So once again, the film, The Master of Disguise, directed by Perry Andolin Blake, written by Dana Carvey and Harris Goldberg, and starring, to no one's surprise, Dana Carvey,
Ooh.
Brent Spiner, Jennifer Esposito, Harold Gold, James Brolin, and many, many more. But those were some of the main stars of this film. And I want to say, it was kind of nice to see James Brolin and Brent Spiner in this film in kind of a feature role thing, because first hearing the name James Brolin, my first thought was, is there some sort of relation to Josh Brolin? Because I see Josh Brolin all the time. That's our generation's main... I want to say main squeeze. Josh Brolin's our generation's main squeeze. Who the hell is James Brolin?
But then you look at the faces and you're like, I can see
they look
it.
Similar.
There's a resemblance here.
And there is a relation.
He is his father, so.
Yeah, James Brolin is Josh Brolin's dad. So that's cool. That's cool to know. And for Brent Spiner, it's kind of like, he kind of looks familiar. Who is this guy? And then we realize he is really popular from Star Trek.
Yeah, no, that's when I was just researching this and I was yelling at you. I was like, Adam, Adam.
He's Data from
Honestly,
Star Trek.
I spent all of them while we were watching the movie last night and like all this morning being like, I know this guy from something. Like, what do I know him from? And then finally today I saw it on IMDb and it clicked and I was like, oh.
I gotta say, that is kind of funny though, because now I might never see the next generation the same way again.
I haven't watched a lot of Star Trek. Maybe that's something we need to start doing, like just having it on in the background. Maybe after we finish Bar Rescue, we'll move to Star Trek.
Next Generation was fantastic, but we'll get back to that. Yeah. With The Master of Disguise, I got to start off by just asking you, Laura, in your opinion, and from your opinion for the other adults of the world, of our relation to our friends or anything like that, when you watch a trailer for a film like this with a rating of PG for this movie, is there even a motivation or a motivational purpose for adults to watch this film upon seeing this film's trailer? Why would you watch this movie?
This movie definitely, without watching it and seeing like trailers or kind of just like ads for it and marketing and things, it seems like a kid's movie. Like visually, you kind of get that vibe too. It's very colorful and bright, right? And kind of like this weird slapsticky humor. And, it's like he's doing a bunch of voices and playing characters. Like it definitely seems like a children's movie. And because it has that low rating, you're like, oh, obviously. Yeah. And I think the only reason adults would watch it is because it's Dana Carvey, right? You know him from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and
so
I agree 100%. I think that's got to be the only reason that an adult or someone from that time would even want to go see this movie.
It definitely has adult like content in it. Like he's obsessed with big butts.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's like things about it that are not for kids at the same time, which it's just a weird movie. I mean, it's PG, right? Because there's barely any cursing and like no violence, really, like some slapping. But otherwise, that's it, which is how it has such a low rating. But
I mean, even his interest in big butts, though, he tries to play that off in a kiddish way because of his character.
Well, because his character's like an imbecile.
Exactly.
He's acting like a 5-year-old child, as an adult man. So,
and everything he says to the first girl that he's into, the character Josie, And then the second girl that he's into, Jennifer Esposito's character, who becomes his assistant.
Whose name is Jennifer in the movie.
Yes, exactly. And so when he's dropping her off to be with her kid, everything he says to her is the worst thing you could say to anybody. But he's trying to play it off like it's okay.
Doesn't he call her like love cake?
Yeah, and he calls her love cake. He calls Josie love cake.
Bye, love cake.
He says, like, goodbye, future mother of my babies.
Yeah. And you're like, it's just weird. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
You know,
everything he says is uncomfortably weird.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about this movie. Like, it's not funny. There are definitely parts where I laughed. There's little lines where I had a chuckle. But overall, this movie is awkward and uncomfortable more so than it is funny, in my opinion. I just don't think it hit right.
I think also there's movies you watch where there's the uncomfortably funny humor that works. It's kind of like, wow, that character is really awkward, and you laugh and you're like, haha, that was awkward, and it's funny. And when you watch Dana Carvey do it, you're like, that was awkward, and I'm not laughing. Like that was just awkward.
There were a few lines though where I had some chuckles. I got a few laughs out of me.
Like, I think the first time I was thinking it was really awkward, and why did he do that was when he did his Shrek impersonation.
Oh, I know. Was he trying to like call out Mike Myers or something?
I don't know, or if it was,
they're friend. I mean,
or if it was out of kindness, it's just kind of like, yeah, I'll incorporate
Wayne's
it.
World together, right? So I mean, like maybe he was just doing it as like a hey, like we work together a lot. He's a friend of mine, so let me do a little impersonation of my, my Wayne's World co-star, because they have other little like call outs in the movie. I mean, right. Because like in the end, when the one guy is asking Devlin, the antagonist, like who the Masters of Disguise can turn into. Right. And he asks, like, can they turn into Barbara Streisand? And Brolin in real life is married to Barbara Streisand. Right. So like, I feel like maybe they were just doing it as these little weird, like connecting call outs to like real world things, which is why he did like the Shrek impersonation. But who knows? It didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. And to go back into the movie, to the start of the movie, this whole movie is a play on him being a master of disguise, quote unquote, a master of disguise. We're all going to be masters of disguise, right? That's what life's all about. So with this film, the whole beginning is a woman stealing something in Italy. And we have what we find out to be Pistachio Disguise's grandfather.
No, it's his dad.
Well, his grandfather's the narrator. Yeah. And his dad is
Fabrizio.
His dad, Fabrizio, is the woman. The woman is the disguise. His dad is in this female disguise.
Yes, as a woman.
As a woman.
This is getting confusing.
And they're pulling this, or he's pulling this off, stealing in Italy. So he does this heist, and then fast forward in time to a pizza restaurant in Italy, and we learn who.
No, in America.
Oh, they're in America?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's why everyone else has like normal accents, but just the disguisees have horrible Italian accents.
Sorry. The heist was in Italy. They're in America now.
Yeah, because Fabrizio, the dad, once he finished that heist or whatever, was like, I don't want my son to be part of this, right? Like, this is dangerous. I don't want my son to have to deal with this. So he like leaves and stops being a master of disguise, moves to America, opens a restaurant. And he's like, this will be my son's legacy, this restaurant.
Yes, I misspoke.
You're close. I mean, they didn't really explain anything, so it's not like we knew.
Well, you are correct. But we learn who Dana Carvey is the best way that we can. We learn who Pistachio Disguise is.
Pistachio.
We learn from that name. We also learn by Fabrizio knocking on the door and saying, I hope you're not, disguising yourself with underwear on your head again. And of course, that's what he's doing with a giant beard made of shaving cream as well.
He's an imbecile. That's what it comes down to. Pistachio is an idiot.
I mean, it is very ridiculous that this is what it comes down to, that he's, wearing underwear on his head. He's got a shaving cream beard. And then they also explain that he's been doing this for his entire life. They also have him in this scenario that they're introducing Pistachio as an infant. When he's an infant, one of the first things he's doing is he's slapping the doctor and saying, "Who's your daddy?" They start it with that.
Well, because I think they're trying to imply that, like, the Disguises, their family name is Disguisey, which don't even get me started on that. It's like it's in their blood, right, to be masters of disguise. So that's why, like, even though he doesn't know that's his family legacy, that's what he's always doing. He's always imitating or, like, miming people and, slapping people, which is their whole thing.
But they show that he was doing that when he was an infant, and he doesn't remember that since he was an infant, but he was doing that as an infant. And then later on, we see, much later on, the grandpa is showing him training and how to become a master of disguise, and he's teaching him how to actually fight people. And you never fight with a closed fist as a disguisee. You always fight with an open hand, and it helps to constantly say, "Who's your daddy?" when you're slapping somebody. So
isn't that how we all should fight?
Yeah, always slapping people and saying, "Who's your daddy?"
Who's your daddy?
I'll have to remember that. If there's anything I learned watching this movie, it's to constantly slap people and say, "Who's your daddy?"
Oh God, we've created a monster.
So yeah.
Like, the main thing, right, is that though he doesn't know that he's a master of disguise, he has it in his blood, right? And then the villain, the antagonist, who is Data, what's his name in the movie? Devlin
Bowman.
Devlin. He's the one that was, like, thwarted in the opening by Fabrizio. He kidnaps Fabrizio and Mama. Mama. So
which I believe was like 30 years prior, because if this film came out in like 2002, then that was the 1970s, the early 1970s.
So he kidnaps Pistachio's parents to force them, to do his bidding, essentially. So then what happens is Pistachio's grandfather shows up and starts training Pistachio to be a master of disguise to save his parents.
Yeah, exactly. And Pistachio Disguisey doesn't even know where to start until he gets an assistant, Jennifer, which is all sort of by accident. It's because first he meets this young child who's horrible at skateboarding. He's skateboarding down the street. He injures himself. And before Pistachio's mother is taken, she tells Pistachio, "Oh, why don't you go and do one of your impersonations to cheer him up?" "Of course, Mama. Why don't I do a line from Shrek?" And so that's where the Shrek line comes in, and he does the horrible, "Why don't you get away from me, donkey?" He's
like a 30-year-old man whose only best friend in life is this, like, 6-year-old child. It's creepy and it's
just
weird.
Skateboards with his dog, and the dog is better at skateboarding than him.
Yeah, well, that's Pistachio's dog.
Oh, well.
He just befriended the little boy. It's weird. It's a weird relationship, Adam.
Oh, yeah, and the dog's name is The Cuteness.
The Cuteness.
The Cuteness.
Let's just say the accents in this movie are so bad, like, bordering on, like, insensitive, I would say.
We didn't even get to
We'll get to it. I know what you're about to... we'll get to it.
So there's plenty of disguises to go around in this movie. Let's just say that. It is called The Master of Disguise.
Yeah. And that's one of my critiques of it. I mean, there's lots of critiques in this movie, but one of the main ones too is that, like, I feel like this is not a movie. It's just like a collection of different sketches where he's playing different characters with a common thread just kind of mashed together in this, like, hour-long, I don't even know what to call it.
What was the real concept that Dana Carvey had to make this movie, and was it something?
He just wanted a reason to show off all of the ways he can impersonate, like, all his characters. I
mean, that's all I can think of. Is it him just going into the production room or going up to producers and being like, "Hey, I'm really good at doing impersonations, so I've intertwined it into a plot, and can we do it?" And
that's what it is, honestly. And it's just like, I feel like even watching it, it's very jarring. Like, when he, like, each scene seems like its very own thing, right? Like I said, they're just kind of mashed together with this, like, common thread of him trying to save his parents. but it's just so weird. Like, it's just sketches. That's all. Like, that's how I can think of it.
Right.
Sketches. I mean, it's barely long enough to be considered a feature film anyways. It's so short. I
mean, most films are at least an hour and a half. And typically nowadays it's longer than that, even hour 30, hour 40, up to about 2 hours. And I think this movie is about an hour 20 or less. Well, and I
think too, how the ending, they have all that after credit scenes.
Oh yeah,
it's like 15 minutes. I think I was reading that they added that 15 minutes of after credits just to make the movie long enough to be considered a feature film.
To make it an hour 20.
Yeah, because the movie itself is like 40 some minutes or something, like 50 minutes, something like that. So to be considered a feature film, they added in all that like credit footage. I think I read that on like Roger Ebert's review or something.
That's absurd. That is absurd, but true. It's like you can see it when you watch the movie.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to think that when you do watch this movie, I gotta completely agree with you. When you see this movie, there's such a loose line of thread that just keeps that plot going, and the only line of thread is the fact that like his dad and his mom were taken by this character Devlin Bowman, and then it's a matter of, well, how are we going to get them back, and then really how are you getting them back? Pistachio and his way of doing it is, okay, I put on this disguise, and it's so very loosely just driven together.
Yeah.
And you're lucky to find items in the film or, a plot line that's keeping you like, oh, like this takes me to the next scene.
I mean, that's what Jennifer's character is essentially, because Pistachio's an idiot. He doesn't like Jennifer's the one that's finding the clues, right? She's the one that's like, look at this cigar. Let's go to the Turtle Club. And then now we know Devlin's name. Let's go to his party or whatever. Like literally she's the only part of this plot that's actually making it make sense.
Yeah.
like in actually moving the plot along.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, should we talk about some of his characters?
Yes.
Because then we can talk about some of the lines that I did think were quite funny. There were times I laughed. So.
Well, when he's first becoming trained to become a master of disguise, it all starts off with him wearing an inflatable suit. That's
very Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Like when she turns into a blueberry.
Oh, absolutely. That is absolutely what that is.
That's what it reminds
So he's in an inflatable suit. He gets out of the inflatable suit via a dart thrown at him. So he, pops and falls down. From that point, he goes into one of the worst disguises, if not the worst.
Are you
disguise.
talking about the snake charmer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's essentially doing like brown face.
Yeah.
It's very culturally insensitive and quite racist. Like this movie did not age well. That's what I was talking. Like, there are parts of this movie that just did not.
And it's not just a matter of the tonality of the skin or anything like that. It's also the impersonation he's doing with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the whole idea that, like, he's a snake charmer and the voice that he uses, and it's not good.
The only thing that I will say that was that I liked about that scene was the fact that he played Kenny G.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, going off of that, too, I was reading somewhere that there was actually a scene that was cut from this movie because like where his disguise was as a person with dwarfism who was like running under tables at a wedding. And it was long. Like I read somewhere it was a long scene and it was cut because it was deemed like insensitive. And I was like, how did they not cut other parts of this movie, too? Like,
yeah. Tell me a little bit more about this dwarfism character that got cut from the film.
Oh, I don't know a whole lot. I just saw on like Wikipedia or IMDb trivia or something like that. Yeah, there was like, I think they said it was like a 12-minute sequence.
Oh, God.
Where he was disguised as a person with dwarfism. Just like running through a wedding, crashing a wedding and like running under tables. Yeah, and it was deemed like very insensitive and was removed from the movie.
But see, the variation in character from something like that, or the fact that he'd even include a character like that, or the snake charmer, versus everyone's favorite character, the Turtle Club man.
Which is horrifying, though. Him as a turtle, his face, it's like nightmares.
Everybody loves that though. And going back to when this film came out and this film was popular, dare I say, everybody loved that turtle character. Everyone was doing impressions of it. I remember
turtle
back in that time. I watched this movie so many times when it first came out. I was always saying that, and I remember my mom loved it. I think Laura and I were just talking to my mother earlier today, and she was, "Oh, you used to do that so well."
She did.
Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
But like, it's just, I mean, he looks
more like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, that was a really Kermit. He looks scary. And also, it's annoying because Jennifer is actually trying to like ask questions and like figure things out. And he just keeps blurting in with a turtle, like every 2 seconds.
He's like, he's got to do that like purr in the back of his heart.
turtle, like, oh God. But I mean, but everyone remembers that. Like, I think that's probably the most memorable scene of the movie. Like, if you were to say to anyone, "Oh, do you remember Master of Disguise?" Like, the first thing they would say is like, turtle.
Yeah, Turtle Club. Yeah.
God.
But as much as you and I were talking on this film, that is one of the scenes where it's kind of like, yeah, that is kind of funny, but also in a very horrific way, in a very scary kind of way. I'm trying to imagine if I was a member of that Turtle Club.
That's what I'm saying. It's nightmares.
If I was someone paying money or paying top dollar to be in that Turtle Club, go in there, smoke a cigar with some other high class friends of mine, like, oh yeah, man, you know, just living the life, you know, having a good time. And then some woman walks in like with her friend or whatever, and maybe the woman is looking fine, but then this turtle guy's next to her, he's always dreamed of being in the Turtle Club. Just, am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
It's very much like Penguin from Batman, right? Like, he took it too far. Like, you don't need to actually be a penguin.
Even Penguin from Batman, though, doesn't think he's a penguin, though. Like, he might look like one, he might even act like one, but he doesn't call himself Penguin just because he is a penguin.
Yeah, I know, but you know, he kind of looks like one.
He does look like a penguin.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to live in Antarctica or anything. That turtle man in Master of Disguise really thinks he's a turtle. He needs to get back in his shell. He even went and bit off the guy's nose and spits it back on, which another thing about this movie, it's kind of like, okay, now you're going back into the kid zone.
What? Well, I mean, also just mentioning that, like, jokes for the kids, the stupid farting. Oh my God.
Devlin Bowman
like, anytime
farting
Devlin
every
laughed,
5 minutes.
Yeah, every time he laughed, he farted, and it happened in like 5 scenes, and it's like,
in the end of the movie too, when he's just like
leaving, when he gets defeated. It's not funny. Like, I don't know. I'm sure if you're like a young boy and that's your humor, you're probably laughing at it. But I was just like, are you kidding? It was okay the first time, but do we have to do it like 5 times? That's like his whole character's like thing. Oh my gosh.
He's just got bad gas, okay?
I guess. The one disguise I did like was like the Al Pacino one. I will say. I think that's funny. Like, I like
got a little wiener and some tiny nuts.
Just like all of the hair and him dancing on the stage. I thought that was a good disguise.
You know, if there's any joke that I thoroughly enjoyed and wish was in real life as a real thing, is when the grandfather's explaining the history of the disguises, and they get to the bit about Abraham Lincoln. They're like, Abraham Lincoln was a horrible speaker and he needed help so he could get elected.
Oh yeah.
And he gets called off stage and he comes back on. He's like, yeah, let's party.
Yeah, the disguise.
I like to move it.
That's also a good one. Yeah. We'll call that one a good one too. Grammy Num Nums or whatever.
Yeah, Gammy Num Nums.
Gammy. There were a few funny lines.
You listen here, Backstreet Boy.
I was about to say, when she called him Backstreet Boy, and then she's like, we don't want to be the Malcolm in your middle. Like, that was like one part where I did laugh. Like, I don't know why she called him a Backstreet Boy, but it was funny. Like, I'll say that too. That's a good line. Gammy Num Nums. Oh my gosh. God. Or the other line that did make me laugh is like when he's talking to his dad in the beginning, when he's just Pistachio, and he starts singing that song and he's like, Papa, don't preach. I'm in trouble deep and I'm keeping my baby. And his dad's like, what?
Oh, man. I also like near the end, too, where he's doing the Jaws bit out in the water.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking for where he went, and they're like, did you see a man out here? And he's just like, like, what?
Yeah. No, that was good, too, I guess. Otherwise, though, it's crap. And if there are other disguises we're missing, I'm trying to think of other, like, I mean, his dad, so the whole reason Devlin kidnapped his Fabrizio was to force him to like put on disguises and steal, really famous artifacts like the Constitution and the Liberty Bell and stuff. But like when his dad does disguises, he does it as famous people. So there's some good cameos we get in this movie. Like the first one is Bo Derek. That's the woman in the very beginning. But then we get like Jesse Ventura. That's his name, right?
Yes, Governor Jesse Ventura.
And Jessica Simpson.
Yeah, and Michael Johnson. So yeah, there's some like weird celebrity cameos in here that the dad is just and they're playing themselves too. So
yeah, as the disguise as Fabrizio.
So I mean that's pretty interesting. I also thought the disguise that Dana Carvey did as Constable Mueller, I thought that was pretty ridiculous.
Wait, which one was that one?
That was when he came back to rescue Jennifer, and he like came up to the
when he's the British guy.
It's me, Constable Mueller.
Oh, the German guy.
And he's like, Jennifer has some taxes, and I promise I won't buy.
No, that made me remember that. I like his next one when he switches and he's like that very like suave British man. Yeah, and he's very like. Sexy British man. And that's when Jennifer's like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe this guy's not an idiot. Maybe I do want to marry him and have his babies. Be his love cake.
I promise I won't buy.
Your face when you're doing those.
Do I look like him?
You're just doing some weird like thing with your eyes.
I promise I won't buy.
It's cute. You are pretty good at impersonations.
It's all for this show.
I mean, if you redid this movie, I'd watch it.
Okay. We'll put it on the Screen Slurps to-do list.
Oh, God, no.
You said it. So
I don't want to.
So let's talk a little bit about what other people think about this movie.
Not good.
Not just you and I, because, when we first started talking about what we thought about this movie, it was total garbage. We were both agreeing that this movie is a flaming trash can of a film. Yeah. And then as we kept talking about it, we were talking about some of the highlights of this movie. Some of those disguises really, spark up some laughter and some jokes. And not gonna lie, I mean, some of the disguises, not all of the disguises, some of the disguises in this movie,
a handful,
they are funny. They do make you laugh, and I gotta clap my hands a little bit for some of the. But that doesn't
make up for the majority of the movie.
And I will agree with that last statement. So let's go to what the majority of the rest of the world will say about this movie. And with that, I go to the reviews of the internet, Rotten Tomatoes, 1% from the critics, 13% from the audience.
What? 13 from audience?
Yeah.
I'm actually honestly kind of surprised it's not a little higher, but 1%, like, that's bad.
Yeah, 1% from critics. And the consensus for Rotten Tomatoes reads, quote, an ill-conceived attempt to utilize Dana Carvey's talent for mimicry. The Master of Disguise is an irritating, witless farce weighted down by sophomoric gags.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Honestly. It's also on Rotten Tomatoes listed as like the 18th worst film of the 2000s.
Now that says something.
We need to see
This
what
also
else is
came
on
out
the
right
list?
around Goldmember. You know,
The same weekend. So I was reading that like this movie was like third in the box office. It's opening weekend, and the top movie was I can't remember now. But then the second one
I think it
was
was like right around The Ring, like the horror movie, The Ring.
The Ring. Was that early? 2002.
I think so.
Wow. But the second movie that weekend was Austin Powers in its second week. So it wasn't even like opening weekend of Austin Powers. It was second weekend, and it still did better than Master of Disguise.
Yeah, that's that tells you something.
Yeah. Also, in 2002, the year this came out, this movie tied with one of your favorite movies, Adam, as the most painfully unfunny comedy of the year.
Which movie did it tie with?
Kung Pao.
We don't have to say that's one of my favorite movies.
You love them. Don't try and make it sound fancy.
Kung Pao is just stupidly
You enjoy
silly.
that movie.
Kung Pao is just like a silly trash movie you can go back to.
Yeah. No, I agree. But it tied with Master of Disguise as the most painfully unfunny comedy of the year.
It's a shame.
I would rather... I don't want to watch either. I don't like Kung Pao, but I think I don't know now. I think I'd rather watch Master of Disguise than Kung Pao, honestly.
It all depends on what mood you're in.
Yeah, as I say, it probably just depends on my mood and if I'm sober.
I won't bite.
But yeah, in all honesty, like looking at critics' reviews of this movie, no one gave it a good review. I mean, Roger Ebert gave it 1 star. And literally, I think the only thing he praised about it was the production design. And that's
Which is what the director's known
that's what
for.
the director's known for. So like, obviously that makes sense. But otherwise, I think he said like his main thing was like, it's like a party guest who thinks he's funny and is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks he's funny and just keeps going, but everyone else in the room is like, oh my God, get this guy out of here.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That is a shame.
I mean, I was going to read another review, but literally they're all just saying the same thing. Like, it's just cringy. It's not good. Sometimes it's just like bordering on horrifying and like creation of nightmares. And that's how I feel, at least. I don't even know what else to say.
Well, with that being said, I think it's time we roll into our Slurps Up or Slurps Down reviews. If this is your first time listening, Slurps Up means that we recommend this film. We recommend that you go check it out, and we think it's worth watching. Slurps Down means that we think this film is total trash. We think this film is not worth watching, and we think that you should hide it away forever and probably never put your eyes on viewing it because it's just not worth your time. Laura, Slurps Up or Slurps Down?
No surprise, Slurps Down. And sometimes when movies are bad, I'll still be like, oh no, it's worth it to watch once, you know, to like get the idea of it, the cultural awareness of it. But literally, this is the one time where I'm like, no, you have absolutely no reason to watch this movie. It is not worth the hour of your time. Go read a book instead. I mean, as we've said before, like throughout this whole thing, it's just cringy and awkward and, you know, there's no plot. It's literally go watch an episode of SNL. Go watch some best of sketches of Dana Carvey's characters on Saturday Night Live. I think that would be a better way to use an hour than to watch this movie, in all honesty. Adam, do you feel the same?
I think that was pretty well said. And I'm going to have to agree with the Slurps Down. I will say that if you feel inclined to watch this movie, maybe grab some friends, turn this on, and as a group, take it in and see what y'all really think, and if you really think it was worth the time. Because
maybe get stoned.
Yeah,
first.
maybe light a joint or
honestly,
prepare yourself mentally for the garbage you're about to take in. There's so many other movies out there that would be, I believe, much, much, much more worth your time than this film. And that is why I say, if you want to watch this, probably ask a friend to join you so that you can both say, what are we doing watching this piece of trash? Really? Why are you doing this? Or really, Dana Carvey, why did you make this movie? No one can answer that but him himself, probably. But yeah, I just got to say, Slurps Down on this one. But if you do watch it, at least you'll understand where the "am I not turtly enough" or the Turtle Club came from.
Just watch that scene then. I was just thinking, like, did Dana Carvey do anything after this? Like, did this kind of ruin his acting career?
It shouldn't have ruined his acting career. He still does stand-up. He still tours and does stand-up.
Yeah, but that's not like acting. I feel like he hasn't had like much since this. I don't know. I guess that's just me. Like, I don't know. I'd have to look up his thing.
Well, we'll see where Dana Carvey's gone since then. Otherwise, that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Be sure to follow us on social media at Screen Slurps on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And be sure to follow us on Spotify, Ghana, or just about any other podcast streaming service out there. And if you enjoy what you hear, slide on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. It will help us a lot. And if there's any crazy movies you want to hear about, let us know. Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, and trust me when I say we will be sure to talk about it. So closing out, I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
Slurps up, and we will catch you later.